The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in March, 10 years after I thought I'd buried that chapter of my life forever. Emma's handwriting hadn't changed. Still those careful loops and curves that used to make grocery lists look like poetry. "David," it began, "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I had to reach out. There's something you need to know about Ryan." Ryan, my twin brother. The name alone made my chest tighten. I set my coffee down and forced myself to keep reading. Emma wrote about how she'd been going through old photo albums with her kids I didn't even know she had, when she found something that made her blood run cold. A picture from their wedding day, dated 3 years after we'd broken up. But it wasn't the date that shocked her. It was realizing the man she'd married wasn't me. Let me back up. Ryan and I are identical twins, born 4 minutes apart. Growing up, people couldn't tell us apart unless they knew us really well. Even our parents sometimes called us by the wrong names. But despite looking exactly the same, we were nothing alike inside. I was the responsible one, studied hard, went to college, got my accounting degree. Ryan was the charmer, smooth-talking his way out of trouble since we were kids. He dropped out of high school, bounced between jobs, and had a talent for borrowing money he never paid back. When I was 25, I met Emma at a coffee shop downtown. She was a kindergarten teacher with laugh lines, already forming around her eyes and this way of making everyone feel like they mattered. We dated for 3 years. I was planning to propose. Then Ryan came back to town. He'd been living in California, chasing some get-rich-quick scheme that fell through. He showed up at my apartment one night, broke and desperate, asking if he could crash on my couch just for a few weeks. Those few weeks turned into 3 months. Emma tried to be understanding, but I could tell the situation was wearing on her. Ryan would use my car without asking, eat food I'd bought, and worst of all, he started showing up places where Emma and I were supposed to meet. "Your brother's really sweet," she'd say after he joined us for dinner again uninvited. "But don't you think he's a little too interested in our relationship?" I should have listened to her. I should have seen the signs. The fight that ended everything happened on a rainy Thursday night. Emma had planned a romantic dinner at her place. I was running late from work, stuck in traffic, when I got a text from her saying she was disappointed. I'd cancelled without explanation. I hadn't cancelled anything. When I finally got to her apartment, soaking wet and confused, she was crying on her couch. "You called an hour ago," she said. "You said work was too stressful and you needed space. You said maybe we should take a break." My blood went ice cold. "Emma, I never called you." But she didn't believe me. How could she? Ryan knew things about our relationship, about her, that only I should have known. He'd been listening to our conversations, reading my texts when I left my phone around. "I can't do this anymore, David," she said. "The lying, the mixed signals. You're not the person I fell in love with." She broke up with me that night. I drove home in the rain, my heart shattered, and found Ryan packing his bags. "Thanks for letting me crash, bro," he said with that easy smile. "But I think it's time I moved on." He left the next morning. Emma wouldn't return my calls. When I tried to explain what had happened, she looked at me like I was making excuses. How do you convince someone that your identical twin was impersonating you? I threw myself into work, eventually starting my own accounting firm. I dated other people, but never seriously. A part of me was still stuck in that rainy night, wondering what if. Then came Emma's letter. She explained how she'd met me again 6 months after our breakup. How I had seemed different, more confident, more spontaneous. How I had swept her off her feet with grand gestures and romantic trips. How I had proposed after just 4 months. "I thought you'd changed," she wrote. "I thought the time apart had made you realize what you wanted. I was so happy to have you back." They had a beautiful wedding. 2 kids followed, a boy named Jake and a girl named Lily. Emma thought she was living a fairy tale with the man she'd always loved. Until last week, when she found Ryan's old driver's license in a jacket pocket. His real driver's license, with his real name. The man she'd been married to for 7 years wasn't David Mitchell. It was Ryan Mitchell. He'd been using my identity, my social security number, my credit history. He'd built an entire life pretending to be me. "I don't know how long he's been planning this," Emma wrote. But David, I think he stole more than just your identity. I think he stole the life that was supposed to be ours. I read that letter 5 times before it sank in. Then I called the police. The investigation took months. Ryan had been thorough. He'd somehow gotten copies of my documents, opened credit cards in my name, even filed tax returns. The financial damage was staggering, but that wasn't what hurt the most. What hurt was realizing that the life I'd grieved losing, the wife, the kids, the suburban house with the white picket fence, had actually been lived. Just not by me. Emma and I met for coffee on a Saturday afternoon in June. She looked older, tired in a way that went deeper than just lack of sleep. "I'm so sorry," she said before I could even sit down. I should have known. I should have seen through him. But how could she have? Ryan had studied me like a role he was preparing for. He knew my mannerisms, my favorite foods, even the scar on my knee from when we were 12. "The kids don't understand," she continued. "Jake keeps asking why Daddy's name isn't Daddy anymore. Lily thinks it's a game." I wanted to be angry with her, but I couldn't. She'd been a victim too. Ryan was arrested 3 months later in Nevada, living under yet another false identity. The charges were extensive: identity theft, fraud, bigamy. He got 8 years in federal prison. Emma and I didn't get back together. Too much had happened. Too much time had passed. But we became friends again, slowly. I met Jake and Lily, kids who had my eyes and Emma's smile, raised by a man wearing my face. It's been 2 years since Ryan was sentenced. I've rebuilt my credit, my finances, my sense of self. I even started dating someone new, Sarah, a lawyer who helped me navigate the legal aftermath of Ryan's crimes. But sometimes I lie awake at night thinking about parallel lives, about the path not taken and the one that was stolen, about how identity is more fragile than we think, and how the people who know us best are sometimes the ones who can hurt us most. Ryan will be eligible for parole in 6 years. Emma asked me what I'll do when that day comes. I told her I'd be ready. Not for revenge, but for closure. Because I've learned something these past few years: you can't steal someone's life forever. Eventually, the truth has a way of coming out. And when it does, you better make sure you're living as yourself, not as someone else's shadow.